dick.
I'm glad that we started going live. Is when we started like, oh yes,
Oh.
it is a big dick. It is a giant penis. All right, hold on. I'm just waiting for my internet to get back to full bars so I could start the intro. I have a connected mic. I have it connected directly to the Ethernet, but it's still Comcast. So there's that.
Look, it's not my fault that you're victim to a multinational conglomerate. It's not, like I am too, but you don't see me.
They are geniuses. Leave them alone. All right, here we go.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
You really adopted the dark. I was born in it.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Munders.
Bazinga.
Two in the box. Ready to go. We be fast. They be slow.
Cool. Bears.
And we are back. We are live. We are recording. Whichever way you are listening to us, if you're watching us live, then we are live. If you're listening to the audio version of this, then we're recording. Welcome to the what's up? Oh, listen to me. Welcome to the Mt.Geekmore podcast. I are recording on a new night, Monday night instead of Tuesdays, switching it up a bit. Your favorite podcast where you come to watch and listen to people talk, debate, and argue and yell over their favorite Mount Rushmore, top 4, if you will, of their favorite pop culture subjects. Today's pop culture subject, as you could tell by either looking at the screen or looking at the listening device that you're listening to us on, is the Mt.Geekmore of Survivor movies. I am Larry Science. With me, as usual, is David Ulloa.
Howdy.
And we have Debona.
What up, y'all?
And then we have Mike Mercadal.
Hello, friends. All right, cut. Nary. We're going to do that again, and we're going to...
You're a little low.
I cannot be louder.
No, that's where you're good. It's just when you step away from the mic.
Okay, here we're gonna go. We're gonna go again. Okay, from the top. I want to hear some emotion. I want to hear some fear for your life. I want to hear like you've been on a desert island for an exerted amount of time. I want to hear that you've befriended a volleyball. I want to hear it in your voice as you do the intro to Mt.Geekmore. Okay, and quiet on the set and action.
Spalding. All right. Comment. I'm just sharing now. Listen live. Comment. Let's FN go. Nope, not all. Let's FN go. All right. So anyway, so we are talking about Survivor movies. We're talking about movies that Dave, have you gone to Wikipedia and looked up the definition? I know you're this is your thing where you literally you usually go to Wikipedia and define.
I was very curious as to what Wikipedia said a survival movie was, and I was illuminated, as it were. So it says it often overlaps with other film genres. Actually, I skipped a line. So it is the film genre in which one or more characters make an effort at physical survival. So that is the primary, the crux of the matter, right? It often overlaps with other film genres. It's commonly referred to as a subgenre of the adventure film, along with the swashbuckler, war, and safari film genre.
Ah, the old swashbuckler.
I love swashbuckler movies. Yeah.
Some buckles need swashing,
They often do.
Yeah, they often need some swashing.
What was the last swashbuckling movie you've seen? Like the most recent, not the one that you've seen most recent, but the one that's come out most recent. What's the most recent swashbuckling movie?
It's got to be Pirates, right?
Yeah, that was like 7 years ago.
The last one was a couple of years ago, and I didn't hate it.
I mean, it wasn't great.
No, but it was a marked improvement over the middle two.
That was Atlantis, am I correct?
Which one?
The last one was Atlantis. Was it Atlantis? What am I thinking of?
Is that the one with the mermaids?
Well, there was
No, the mermaids I think was the second one.
No,
Man,
no.
we
no,
are
no.
veering.
Yeah, we are veering way off. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really, you know what's funny? Because now that you brought it up, I want to watch the. I think I'm gonna binge those pirate movies again. But anyway,
Yeah.
continue. So Survivor movies are basically a subgenre of other kind of movies. What's
Yeah,
the
but
criteria?
the most important aspect here is that one or more characters make an effort at physical survival.
Make an effort, so they don't even got to actually survive.
No,
Correct.
no.
That wasn't my criteria. My criteria is if everybody dies, it's no longer a Survivor movie. That's the way I saw it.
Well,
It's literally
it is a story about survival, but they don't accomplish their task at the end.
Right. So you didn't survive.
But the story is still a story of survival. It is them trying to survive.
So you're just watching a
At least
slow
one that you're not
snuff
going to be
film?
happy about then.
But I just, because the title is Survivor movies, that's what that was my criteria. I was just like, we'll go on the whole night. Dave, what was your criteria for these movies? How did you make a selection?
I kind of went. There's a lot of movies that I think have elements of survival in it,
right.
but lean more towards one way or another. So I tried to keep the
or the other. I'm gonna get you. Sorry, I'm sorry, bro.
And if they get you, then according to you, it is not a survival movie.
Yeah.
Well, if they get everybody, if
Right.
everybody dies, I'm like, oh. Well,
So I tried to make sure that survival was more important to the plot and to the character development than, say, elements of science fiction or elements of action or one thing or another. So if it leaned more heavily towards survival, then it kind of made the cut.
Okay.
I also use that as a way to kind of like rank these. So when I was like in between two, I'm like, okay, which one focuses more on survival? And that's why, even though there's one on my list that's lower, it's actually my favorite movie on the list, but it doesn't focus on survival as much as it does some of the others.
DeBona, what was your criteria? How did you come up with your selection?
Man, I found 4 movies that fit this descriptor that I liked. Honest to God, this wasn't one of the ones where I had a huge list that I was kind of slowly narrowing down. I kept kind of finding other reasons, like Dave said, to be like, well, this one's not really as much survival, the blah, 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 blah. And I really just kind of came down to, here's 5 of them that I really like. So we're just going to organize that into the list.
Mike?
I thought you said Survivor Series, so I've ranked my top 4 WWE Survivor Series pay-per-views. And
Bono's already got his list. He doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm here with you.
You're not.
Yeah.
Let's do that one too.
No, I picked. So for me, it's all about one man surviving the elements, right? Like
Elements.
It's all
you want specifically with elements.
yes, because it's not about other people. To me, when I think of a survival situation, I think of like. Well, I've also been watching a lot of bushcraft and getting out into the wilderness videos and watching that show Alone. Has anyone watched that show? If you ever watch that show Alone, it's like a contest, and these people are out there for months, just living off of whatever they had in their pack and whatever they find and whatever they kill and all that shit.
Is this the one where the commercial was like, "There's bears"? Like that
Battlestar Galactica. Yes, that's the one.
There's one where the commercial shows like a cougar.
Yeah, they show like a Wolverine and all this stuff.
And then they show a bear, and I'm like, and then there's somebody's like the voiceover was like, "There's a bear, and I was like, yeah.
They send them out by themselves. They have like video cameras and GoPros and shit, and they got to survive. And that's the only rule. They just got to survive. So I like the idea.
The only rule, they kill each other for food. It's like, you said the only rule was to survive.
That's the pay-per-view edition called Survivor Series. There's litigation.
Why you gotta buy Discovery Plus. You pay that extra bonus just to be able to get that.
No, I picked. It's for me. It felt like it had to be some sort of solo survival, and it had to have some sort of like journey, like it had to have some sort of like it couldn't just, and something had to be done, like creative in terms of the way the movie was made too. So like there's a lot of that, like, you know, you plop someone on a desert island and stuff, but then there's also like when it's done well, it doesn't just have to be about nature, it could be about other things. So
let me get I'm just gonna get a guess, and you don't have to say anything if I guess it right. I'm just gonna. Did you have to science the fuck out of this?
What?
Okay.
Your internet sucks. What'd you say?
So the way I went around the two things that I needed, I thought it's one against the world, right? Even if it's not element specifically, I thought because there's some movies when you look up this subgenre, there are some movies where it's like a family or a team, and I'm like, no, I need it to be like one motherfucker, and maybe that one person is also like, oh, like I had a friend, but that friend isn't really like the main part of the fucking movie type of deal. I need one, you know what I mean? Like I need one person to be against everything else, and two, you need to live.
Yes.
So that's the thing. Or the majority of the people. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like if everybody dies, then I don't find that surviving anymore. I find that that's a thing. So that was just a way to just chop down my list. This was a little difficult for me in the sense of I had to cut it off. I got to 6-7 choices, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop looking, because if I keep looking, I'm gonna keep finding more, and I just had to stop looking. We do have a couple of notes here, comments from the people. Missy says hi.
Yes.
Hi, Missy.
Illuminated, he said.
Oh, you gotta Google that. That's woo, bro. You don't Google shit here.
Kind of unsuccessful survival stories equals they're all dead. Yeah, that's it. Unsuccessful survival. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and go with our number 4.
With the fourth pick.
Number 4. Round 4.
I'm in no mood for your wives' crap. Let's get it on.
All right, for those of you who are new to the to listening, we're gonna go through our picks one by one around the horn, and we're gonna have 5 minutes to do so, talking about our picks, so that we don't get a bit long-winded, and we can end this podcast in time for me to get turned down for sex. So if we could go ahead and David, what is your number 4? What did you come up with?
Okay, so one of my other picks is debatable as to whether or not it's about a group survival or not. But this one is definitely one where it is more than one person trying to survive, and it's Deliverance.
Oh,
nice.
Interesting.
So Deliverance has, I think, there's elements of like man versus nature. There's elements of man versus himself, and man versus man. Right? Yeah. Squeal like a pig.
Yeah, man versus dick is all I heard about that movie, man.
Have you never seen Deliverance?
Oh, no. I saw the movie. This is the story. All right. So in what I had turned it on to watch it for the first time, and I already knew about that scene going into it, but I was watching it, and it was me and my wife. This is years ago, and I don't know what happens, but her and I get into an argument. Nothing about the movie, but we get into an argument, and it's like a heated argument. Like like we got heated argument.
I know the story.
As we're fighting, as we're like in the midst of the argument, we hear the squeal, and then we both do that thing where we're talking to each other, but we're kind of like glancing over at the TV, and we're watching this scene in horror, and we both stop fighting. Stop arguing to go what the, and she had no idea about the movie. She didn't even know what the movie was about. She had no idea about the scene. I did. I just for some reason thought that this scene came at the end. I don't know why. I thought this was like
pretty early on in the movie.
Yeah, you thought it would end. You thought it would end romantically.
Yeah, as I thought it was like, and then
some lovemaking,
and then a boy gets boy. Like I thought that's what it was gonna be. But no, it was pretty early on in the movie, and then the fight stopped, and I remember even saying to her like 10 minutes later, I'm like, it's funny how we just stopped watching, how we stopped the fight, and she was like, well, when a man is getting raped by another man, you everything kind of just falls in. Like she was like,
there.
Priorities, man, priorities.
But so yeah, I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely not for the faint of heart. They don't all make it out alive at the end of the movie.
Spoiler alert.
I mean, yeah, for a 50-year-old movie at this point. But
oh my god, Deliverance is 50 years old now, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is something that I read in high school. It was assigned by a teacher, and we watched the movie in class. It
How was that
was
scene? How was that scene in the book? How was that? Was it better in the movie? Was it better in the book? How was that?
Ned Beatty brought a real verisimilitude to it.
Was it better than, not worse? Was it better in the book than in the movie?
That's
I
what
just want to make sure.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It was definitely more uncomfortable in the book.
Well, yeah, because you can read it, the description.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's a movie that still holds up quite well, and especially if if you're the type of person that likes to go outdoorsing, and you go out for hikes and you go out, kayaking, canoeing, rafting. This is a movie that always. It always makes you. It gives you pause, and you're like, dude, do you really want to go? You remember the little banjo kid, right? I think that's him over there.
Yeah, talent though, no lie. The kicker play.
Oh yeah,
he played the hell out of that banjo.
Play the hell out of that banjo.
Yeah.
Can I bring up
looked amazing? By the way.
Neri, your story about something on the TV distracting from what was happening in the moment. I had a very similar situation when I was at a girl's house for the first time, and we started to fool around, and we were like, "Oh, we need to watch something, like to have something on in the background, like because if it's like real quiet, you feel like psychopaths." And then so you put something on in the background, and for some reason, we landed on what's that show with on Netflix that was about the future and science?
Sense8.
No,
the
Mirror.
Black Mirror, the first episode where the Prime Minister of the UK has to fuck a pig.
Yes.
So we were there like making out, and all of a sudden we were both like, "What?" Because it starts off with like a girl crying, and then there's all of a sudden it's like you gotta fuck a pig. Like we completely forgot whatever it is that we were doing. We were all arousal left within like a quarter-mile radius. Everyone was just like dry, and we were all like, "Are we gonna watch this guy fuck up? Oh, he's fucking the pig. Okay, all right." And then good night. Get on my train, go home.
The stark realism with which that episode was
approached.
It's like, sir, you cannot come to fruition too early, or they'll believe that you enjoyed it too much. And you cannot come too late, or they'll believe that you really wanted to screw the pig.
Yeah. That you're really digging it.
Here's my question, Mike. When you were watching this scene or this, I haven't seen this show at all. So when you're watching this and the whole thing finished, did you look at her and be like, "So do you want to fuck a pig?"
No,
baby.
No, I was like, "You sure do got a pretty mouth, squeal." I did that.
All right.
And then she just took her panties off and threw them right at him. It was amazing.
Bring it around.
Ooh, no need for these. The Bono, what do you got for your number 4, man?
My number 4 is one that honestly, when this topic was broached, I thought would end up higher, but I found 3 that I liked more than it. Might get tabled, so I'll just say it. My number 4 is Castaway.
Tabled.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Ooh, perfect pick.
I mean, it's actually my number 4 as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Still tabled.
Mm-hmm.
Cast away and cast.
That's one you got to just get out of the way.
Yeah, it really is. It's like, okay, well, here it is. It is what it is. We'll get to it.
So all right. So my number 4, I'm just gonna pull the trigger right now. Pull the trigger right now. Is I Am Legend.
As soon as you said it may not be against like the elements or like other people, I was like, this fool's got I Am Legend on his list.
Yeah.
I actually only have one movie that's against the element. So you're not wrong, but there's also other ones. I Am Legend is I thought it was a phenomenal movie. A lot of people didn't like this movie. I have friends of mine who were very upset with the movie.
Well, because the dog.
I think no, they were more upset with the fact that they had found the cure at the end and he didn't have to sacrifice himself. That was my friend's take on like why they didn't like it. They didn't appreciate the fact that he gave himself up, and to which my rebuttal is his entire purpose in the movie, his entire reason for being is to create the antidote. He created the antidote. He had nothing else to live for. His fucking family was gone. His dog died on him. Like he had nothing else to live for. And if his sacrifice, his ultimate sacrifice, could ensure that the antidote would make it, that because he felt responsible for being the one. He was the one that created the virus to begin with. And so that was my thing. And I love this film so much. If you watch it, when I went to watch it, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was like, it's a Will Smith movie, I'm in. And then I didn't know that there was like elements of horror, so I didn't know that. So the fucking zombie like things kind of creeped me out, to be honest. I was like, oh shit, this is a little fucking scary. But then again, I'm a pussy, I get it. But it was I highly enjoyed this movie. Like his psychological journey, it's not just physical, it's a psychological journey where he's trying to do everything to keep in, like it's very impressive. And when not the dog with the girl.
So you didn't just stick with ones with just one person, though.
Well, this is majority of the movie is one person, and then at the end he sacrificed himself. This is like the one caveat where he didn't survive, but somebody else that he died for did survive.
Okay.
My whole thing was not everybody. Like if everybody dies, like if the story is no different when you leave it than when you come.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why people hate it, because he could have just not done the movie could have not happened, and the same events would have happened at the end.
That's not true, because he created the serum. He created the whatever the fuck you want to call it, the
venom or whatever it was.
When the DVD for this came out, it had an alternate ending that I thought was far superior.
Yeah, I agree.
Where he didn't blow himself up. Spoiler alert. But and he realized that he had just become like a monster and constantly trying to cure and killing these things, and that they had lives, and that by abducting them he'd become a terrible person, and he does survive in the alternate ending, which I thought made the movie better. I liked the movie. I just thought that the alternate ending that was on the DVD was better.
I know I saw the alternate ending, but I don't recall the alternate ending. And
in the alternate ending, he just like gives the guy back to his girlfriend because he sees the butterfly tattoo and realizes what he's done, and then he goes off and he actually makes it to the station at the end. Right.
I like the ultimate sacrifice because he has nothing else to live for. Like I like the theme of that storyline of saying like he the only reason he was doing this is because he promised the world, he's promised his family, he promised the world that he will fix this, that he will fix his what he messed up. His family was killed in front of him. His fucking dog died in front of him. Like he had to kill his dog. His dog turned and he had to kill his dog with his bare hands. Like he had nothing else to live for.
He did have that sweet Mustang though, which I think is enough. I would have been good to drive through New York, like empty streets of New York, ripping like fucking traffic. Big drifts around Times Square. Hell yeah.
Elk. Yeah. Just gotta avoid the elk.
You just gotta avoid the elk. Shoot a lion. Who cares? It's the end of the world, man. Do it.
Right? Just
yeah.
Get out there and do the damn thing.
But I like that ending. I like the reasoning for that ending. To me, makes sense. I'm like, he has nothing else to live for. This is my whole point of life is to create this thing that is now created and done and fixed. So why am I still here? So anyways, and she fucking cooked his bacon. What the fuck, bro? All right. So the number 4s are Deliverance, Castaway, and I Am Legend. Those are the 4 that we got. So we are gonna move on to our number 3s.
Round 3.
3 is a magic number. Yes, it is.
All right. Dave, what do we got for number 3, man?
So I didn't even consider this one until I saw it pop up on a number of different lists, and I was like, man, this really is a survival movie, isn't it? And I think it's because it's part of a series that kind of veered off in another direction right after this installment. And it's First Blood.
That is also my number 3.
Is it? Okay.
Wow. Didn't even think about that one.
No, so that is, I mean, Only reason it's not higher is because the other movies are better. But yeah, my number 3 as well.
So
First Blood.
I see. This is the one that I said. Like, as far as which one on my list is my favorite, this is my favorite movie on the list. But as far as survival elements, I think my number 1 and my number 2 surpass it. For focusing purely on survival, because there is more that's going into First Blood than just survival. There's a lot of action there, but all the action is centered around John Rambo's survival.
Here's the thing. I would disagree. I don't know what your other two. Actually, I know one of your other two.
Right.
But First Blood to me is a complete survival movie, even if it does have action in it, because it's not just the physical survival of him in the jungle, in the woods, in the forest, whatever you want to call it, and running away from the cops, but it's also the mental survival of him surviving Vietnam.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those elements are clear as day. And that last scene of him crying.
Oh, man.
I mean, that's like, people talk a lot of shit about Stallone being quote unquote just an action movie star, but
I disagree wholeheartedly.
But that scene, along with there's other scenes in Rocky where he does real acting, and people just forget that for some reason. I think it's because of his lip and whatever the fuck.
Well, you don't like my couch?
Yeah, you don't like my couch? Because not good enough for you. Huh? But
Oscar worthy. You don't like my couch?
That last scene in First Blood, I think is his best work as far as acting goes.
I mean, Copland was pretty fucking stellar acting too, my friend.
Copland's good.
But I get what you're saying. There's no, I mean, I'm not going to argue with it. Like, this scene is so great, but it shows you the mental surviving, like this whole thing.
I think we often overlook this one as a survival movie, as I did, because what followed it veered so far into like over the top 80s action. And it's fantastic. We all love
over the top. What do you mean?
That's the movie where he puts the hat backwards and then he arm wrestles.
He turns into a machine.
Yeah,
like this truck.
Can I make a point of contention?
Sure.
Because this. So when I think of survival movies, I know because there's a bunch of what I would call fugitive movies, or like escaping the law movies, or like being that concept of being chased by some force, or you're like escaping or something like that. That didn't even enter into. I even like if someone would have mentioned, I'd be like, no, that's not survival. Where it's like survival to me is so much about like nature and like the universe.
Blood in a while? Have you seen First Blood?
I haven't seen it in forever.
Okay,
I'm like,
go rewatch that movie. Because
what I'm saying is
in the fucking forest, and he's against not only cops that are chasing him, but he's also against the elements, the rain, the cold.
Right, but he's
at one point, right?
He's there because of the. I feel like being chased and like he said in the second, like in the rest of the movie, like I'm sure there's elements of it, but but what I'm getting more at the idea of like. Escaping a force is not survival to me. It's a different thing. You know what I mean? Like
what would you call it?
I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean.
I don't know. Because what you're saying is
The Fugitive a survival movie?
But The Fugitive isn't in nature.
Yeah, he's out in the woods. He dives in the waterfall. He escapes in through the woods and he's hiking. But it's not the whole point of the movie.
Go watch First Blood.
Yeah,
I think I'll go watch it again.
You're comparing The Fugitive, where there's literally a scene where he's in the forest running through the forest with chains on, and First Blood, where there's a 40-minute scene of him in the forest.
It's not even a
survival movie. Is
The
Pest with John Leguizamo
I have
a survival movie?
I don't think it is, because I haven't survived it. Because I haven't seen that movie. So
DeBona knows what I'm talking about. It is 100% Rambo. Like, it's very specifically, he's out in the woods. All the arguments you're making for Rambo could be made for the Pest.
Is your argument against?
Like, it's a joke, but it's
your argument against? I've never seen the Pest, but is your argument against the Pest being a survivor movie the fact that it's a comedy?
No. That he's in nature, but the whole point of the movie is that he's being chased by a human being.
Oh, then that's a survivor movie.
Yeah,
That's
Okay.
literally
Pest is the most dangerous game with
Yeah,
John
all right.
Leguizamo.
That's
Scratch Castaway. Scratch the whole mountain. My whole mountain is the different versions of the most dangerous game. There's the one with John Leguizamo. There's the one with Ice-T. There's the one from the 50s.
where it's called surviving or
Only
survivor
the strong, or something like the strongest survive or something like that.
something like that. It's literally in the title. Yeah, I'm fine. Again, this is not the only type of survivor movies. This is not what Dave and I are saying. These are not the only type of survivor movies.
But it is a kind of survival movie.
Yeah, it's yeah, absolutely.
I just didn't even think about it, but now you're saying I'm. You know what? The Pest 1, 2, 3, 4 top ranking.
Go watch. I think you should go watch this movie. You should go watch.
I'm gonna go watch First Blood again because now I'm curious.
In the family share. It's in the family.
I imagine it is. Yeah,
a couple times
on multiple accounts. So whoever you want to go through first.
Yeah.
But it's I have no. I thought about this movie. I didn't even have to look it up. I thought this is one of the movies I thought up. I go, okay, there's Castaway, and then there's there's
Castaway.
All right. The Bono, what do you got for your number 3?
For my number 3, I've got one that is one person trying to just survive. However, the elements that they're surviving are something that they're not super familiar with. My number 3 is The Martian.
That's my number 3.
Hey, look it up.
Science
that's a great movie.
Science the fuck out of this thing.
Science the fuck out of this thing. It was so good. I honest to God had no idea what to expect the first time I went into watching The Martian. I'd never read it. I didn't see much about it going into it. I really didn't know exactly what I was getting myself into. And I was blown away at how good it was and how Matt Damon put this whole movie on his back.
Yes.
Just carried it. It was incredible. And just the different things he had to do to have, just something to do some days, like just bored out of his mind, and ends up going and digging up the old rover and creates a way of communicating with back home, and the farming and all of that. It was just, this movie blew me away at what all they accomplished with what was a majority one-man cast.
That part of what I was saying, that criteria from the beginning of how it had to be creative, like in the movie, in the filmmaking sense, for me to like really appreciate, like this was one of those things where the book already was based in like this scientific fact. Andy Weir, the author, my brother had read the book and he was like, bro, it's fucking amazing, you got to see it. And I'm like, they're making it a movie, I'm gonna watch the movie first and then read the book, because I feel like it's better that way, so you're not disappointed by the movie. And then so once I watched the movie, I was like blown away at when I went back and I started reading the book. But what ended up happening was reading about Andy Weir and that guy's process about like he like exhausts the science out of it and makes it as realistic as possible. So when he's flying up at the end and he strips that fucking thing and he's flying through the atmosphere, like you're like, there's no way that thing would fly like that. And then they just drop the one line of the real science that it's like the atmosphere on Mars is thinner and you don't need to worry about this sort of thing. It was like, oh shit, like the detail that this guy thought about and how it translated into the movie with what's the director's name? Ridley Scott. And it's just like most of the movie is Matt Damon acting at nothing, at a camera,
at a webcam.
You know? Yeah, that's it.
It's just, and that's we'll get back to Castaway, but I mean, like I Am Legend, so there was a good chunk of that movie. It was him acting, just at a webcam, create a dialogue when there's only one person. Yeah. And because in a movie, internal dialogue isn't a thing. But and like you said, yeah, just science the fuck. I was just blown away at how he just kept coming up with new things to do, and how, like I said, the farming that I was like, oh, there's no way, right? But then you go and look it up, and it's like, okay, so the things he said, those add up. Like maybe you could grow potatoes on Mars, or and I was just amazed at this movie that I had no expectations going into, and I loved it. They did a great job with this movie.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And also like so the scenes back home where they have like Childish Donald Glover, Childish Gambino is a scientist, Kristen Wiig, Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniels.
So good, like those, and then the crew, like Jessica Chastain, the people that had to come back and catch him, and the fucking drama of them having to line up 2 lines on a screen so that they catch him. Like that shit's wild. Like it's beyond belief made believable, because there's no way that all of those things could happen in that way 100%, that it works out every time, et cetera, et cetera. But in the movie itself, like you can't like dismiss it, because it's like technically it's like you can't just say that's impossible, because it's like, I mean, it kind of is. It's just the sheer probability of it all lining up perfectly like that is kind of bullshit when you think about it. But at the end, but like when you're watching it, it's like really engaging. And Matt Damon was like Oscar worthy in that movie.
Yes.
Mike watches Wizard of Oz and he's like, "Oh, really? The monkeys fly too? The fuck out of here!
Their bones are too dense. Birds have hollow bones, and that's why they're light enough to fly. Monkeys have, primates have dense bones.
Came down in a
You
bubble,
just
bro.
expect me to believe this shit, huh? Like it's a movie, Mike.
I could suspend my disbelief of reality for a talking lion, but this bridge too far. This is
really
bullshit.
Red slippers with a fucking blue and white dress. Bitch.
I'm sorry.
You know,
A
okay.
bit, yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. I thought The Martian was okay. I thought it was okay.
Super fun.
Ridley Scott is one of my favorite directors. He's probably my favorite director of all time. If I had to like narrow it down, he's definitely up there, top 2 or 3. This movie was just okay. I don't do well with space movies, in the sense of like I don't really care. I'm the perfect audience for space movies because I don't know anything about space. So to me, it's all fucking believable. To me, that was like, yeah.
But when they start explaining
laser swords, check.
They start explaining it to you, and you're like, no. Just show it. Just give me the space. Don't show it. Don't explain it. I don't need you to teach me about science.
That's the one part I liked about this movie the most, is we're like, I'm gonna science the fuck out of it. Like, perfect. Got it. Let's go. Moving on. Like this is all like. Did you ever, Mike? I know you saw the movie with Seth Rogen, on where he's pickled.
American Pickle. Yeah, I saw
American Pickle. So the basis is this guy, Seth Rogen's great grandfather or whatever it was, falls down in a pickle factory, and he gets perfectly preserved, and then they find him, whatever, 150 years later, whatever it is. But in the movie, they're giving a press conference and voiceover where he says all the science is explained and everybody believes.
Everybody accepts it and totally believes it.
And it's like one of those things where it's literally just showing you bar graphs and pie charts, and then like the voiceover is telling you, and the science checks out, and everybody understands, and everybody's like,
yes, right. Yeah.
That's me when I watch any science movie. I'm like, okay, yeah. That's fine. That's okay.
Yes, right. Yeah, good. Right. It's true because you said it is.
Yeah, potatoes on Mars. Okay, cool. I never once did I think to myself, I gotta look this.
Whereas I'm watching Interstellar with the calculator, constantly seeing if the math adds up.
Yeah, and I'm here like, never did I think to fucking Google Mars's soil content and worthy enough of the character. Like I don't give. I'm like, and still the movie was it was fine. It was fine.
It's on our mountain, so we believe it to be more than just
I'm just giving you my opinion. That's all I'm saying. I thought a movie was fine.
Is that what this show is about? Forget it. I'm out of here.
There's a movie. There was a space movie that came out that same year that blew that shit the fuck out of the water. So I'm not gonna say it in case it's on somebody's list. But I was just like, oh, okay. All right, Mike. You said that was also your pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been fucking jerking that movie off for this whole time.
All right. So I like the fact that my speak to spell was on, and it literally caught you saying jerking this movie off the whole time.
Yep.
All right. So number 3s were First Blood, The Martian, and First Blood. Get out to our number 2s.
Round 2. Dose, the sequel to Uno.
All right, Dose. David, give me your deuce, bro. Just chuck it. Throw it to me.
You keep saying that.
Give it to me.
My number 2, Neri. We were talking about this just a little bit before we started recording. It's Apocalypto.
Ooh,
Missed it by that much.
my friend, that would have been. It was between that and I Am
I Am
Legend.
Legend.
If it
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
for that, if it wasn't for that, you and I would have you and I and the Bona and Mike would have the exact same mountains from each other. But I
Yeah,
love this movie. Speak on it, man.
yeah, it had been so long since I had seen Apocalypto, and I had enough time to watch one movie today, and I thought, you know what? Let me do Apocalypto. I was between Apocalypto and another movie, which if it's on your mountain, don't mention it. That I hadn't seen in a long time, but I don't own, so I would have had to rent it. Called The Edge. So
I own that movie, my friend.
do you?
Yes.
Damn it. Okay.
Well, what one man can accomplish, another man can do.
Nah. So yeah, this movie, there are elements of the man versus nature, trying to survive the elements, but it is mostly a story of a man simply trying to get back to his family in time. So it's
Vin
not.
Diesel in this movie.
What's that?
Vin Diesel in this movie.
Yeah.
Family. Sorry.
It's not just his survival, but the survival of his wife, the survival of his son, and the survival of his unborn son, which he does not know, will be born by the end of the movie. So
I can't stop picturing these ancient warriors drifting cars through the jungle. I'm just like that scene is just mashed in my brain where they're like escaping and all of a sudden Vin Diesel pulls up in some like tricked out Toyota Supra and then just like is like, get in, you're my family now.
Yeah, I mean it's brutal. It's kind of difficult to watch at times because of how real the movie is. The way Mel Gibson shoots movies is incredible. Say what you want about him as a person, but as a director, oh damn, that guy's got talent. So yeah, it's difficult to watch, but I think that makes the survival elements all the better. And Jaguar Paw, his insistence that like this jungle is his home. By the time the end of the movie comes around and he kind of understands his father's message at the beginning of the movie about not to fear, right? And to be one with this jungle, and he says that line, this my father hunted on this land, I hunt on this land, and my sons will hunt on this land when I'm gone. As he's saying that to the guys up on the waterfall, it's this amazing moment where like now, like, yeah, he's gonna survive. I don't have to worry about his survival anymore. Up until that point, you're like, is he gonna make it? Is he gonna make it in time? Is everyone gonna die? Yeah, and of course you see the conquistador ships; they're all gonna fucking die. But but that's after
spoiler alert.
Soon as the white man comes, it's over Jehovah.
They're destroyed by colonialism.
Yep.
I hadn't seen this movie. I haven't seen this movie in a few years, which is the reason why I ultimately went up going with I Am Legend, because I was like, I don't feel comfortable enough with this, like the knowledge of it. I know I loved it, and but I've seen it a couple times, but not in a few years. So I don't feel comfortable enough, speaking about it. But it was like I said, from what I remember, it was a fantastic movie. I remember loving it multiple times, and I'm with you on Mel Gibson. The man could fucking make a film.
Yep.
Yeah. Great movie, man. Great film. I have the kids the other day. There was no way I was gonna watch any movie, much less stuff like I'm like, hey, let's watch Apocalypto, kids. Let's watch it. All right. The Bono, what do you got for your number 2?
My number 2 is a movie that I almost didn't put on my list, even with it being this high, just because it toes a line between whether you would consider it a survival movie or just a post-apocalyptic movie. But I think the deciding factor is the only plot of this movie is to survive. There's not even an end game in place. My number 2 is The Road.
Oh, I haven't seen this movie.
I've never seen this.
I've not seen it either.
Okay, so The Road is an absolutely incredible movie. It's got Viggo Mortensen in it, and it's just it's freaky good, but it is horribly depressing. So the reason, and so it starts off, and all you really know is there's some unspecified cataclysmic type thing that's happened in the whole world, and everything's gone to shit, right? So your first thought is this is post-apocalyptic, but as the movie continues, like you look at other stuff that we've talked about, Castaway, The Martian, like I'm trying to get home, right? Apocalypto, I'm trying to get back to my family. I Am Legend, I'm trying to find the cure. There's always an end game and all of these things that they're trying to reach. The whole point of the movie The Road is just, can this dude and his kid survive? They're not trying to get anywhere. There's not some, Oz on the other side of the rainbow that if they get there, they're going to live. It is literally just about them surviving and the awful, awful things that they go through. Thank you, Hilda.
Says The Road is amazing. Man, I haven't seen that in ages. Now I want to rewatch it. She also gave shout out to, I love space movies. The idea of things going wrong in space is terrifying to me. The Martian is an excellent survival movie.
Hey, Hilda, I got you. Yeah. So now knowing that the three of you have not seen it, I won't go into too much because there are some genuinely shocking and slightly disturbing things that happen in this movie. And so I don't want to give away anything.
Like, is the road not paved? Because that would be shocking. You got to pave that.
Parts of it are paved.
No, I'm kidding.
But no, it's just.
Is it in the same universe as Mad Max Fury Road? Do they meet
definitely
on the
a different
Fury Road?
universe. No, everything seems to be kind of cold on Viggo Mortensen's road. So very different place. But it's and that's really all it is. It's Viggo Mortensen and his kid, and they're trying to survive. And there's no, like I said, there is no, if we get to A, B, and C, then life gets easier. It's just, life's never going to get easier. This is just what we have to do to make it. And when you take a look at all of that as a whole, I realize that it is a survival movie more so than just post-apocalyptic type movie. So I won't say too much because, like I said, the three of you have never seen it. Highly, highly recommend The Road from 2009.
When you said that it was cold, that his universe is cold, I just kept thinking about the trailer, and fuck, what was that? What was the Robert Downey Jr. movie where he plays a black guy?
Tropic Thunder.
He plays a white guy playing a black guy.
That is true.
I played. I just kept thinking about the trailer in the beginning where he was all about a heat scorcher, or it's a scorcher 3, scorcher 4, and then they get to the winter one. He's like, somebody left the fridge open, and like, that's all I thought about when he was like, no, it's cold in Vigo's world, and I'm like, somebody must have left the fridge open.
You guys have got to. It's like I said, it's depressing as hell. I mean, it wears on you. It's not something you're gonna watch again and again, but damn, it's good.
Interesting.
Mike, what do you got for your number 2?
My number 2 is The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio. Like literally survival movie because he gets fucking eaten by a bear, and that's where the movie starts. Like that's where I feel like he's like, not only does he have to make do with the wilderness, he's also got to like heal from being like ripped open, and then get back to like where like he can get back to his civilization, and it becomes kind of like survive / revenge against Tom Hardy, or not Tom Hardy, the actor, Tom Hardy's character in the movie The Revenant. And also this one because it was like Alejandro Iñárritu, the director, was doing all of this like natural light shit. Like the cinematography was incredible. These long shots that look almost like one giant take. Like it's this forever.
When the bear dick was amazing.
Yeah, we're just real good stuff. But I mean, it's like.
Do you remember the rumor before that movie came out? The rumor was that Leonardo DiCaprio gets raped by a bear.
Yes, like everybody. Yeah, there was this huge thing going on that people were saying that like the premise of The Revenant is that he gets raped by a bear.
Yeah, he gets raped by a bear, and this is before the movie came out. And I was like, no.
No.
And I was like, what? But I wasn't even totally unsold on it. I was like, no. Is it? Like, it was one of those things where you have to say no just so you could say
Like
you said no.
how?
It's
Like
that plausible
rape?
deniability.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
plausible
yes,
deniability.
like-
You're like, no.
Like
And then you go,
that was
how
the
bad-
big rumor before the movie was
Yeah.
that like raped.
Yeah, and then you start thinking to yourself, man, this dude must really want an Oscar. Like, he must really, because he's been fucking.
Well, he won, so
Yeah.
the bear rape was worth it.
And I feel like I brought that up just to clarify that joke that I made about the bear's dick, because that's the whole point. The
I
whole
didn't
joke.
remember.
But
I was
yeah,
what are you talking about?
there was a rumor about the fucking.
I had no. I
Yeah.
don't remember that. Like, all I remember was going to see it in the theater and Hilda face palming. No, that's not what happened in the theater. But Hilda is face palming in the comments right now. All I remember is going to the theater and people were genuine, like visibly ill at the makeup effects of him ripped open and how it was like in his neck and throat where he couldn't talk right. And the whole time, the person I was with was like, I want him to use chapstick so bad. Like, that was the whole movie, was just that I couldn't stop looking at his lips. His lips look like they hurt so much, because they're like all cracked and shit. It was wild. So yeah,
the movie was so like the makeup was amazing as far as like injured. But here's the thing: this is like the one time where I got like you, Mike, where I was like, is that even possible? Is because they show you how fucked up this guy is, but he survives. And then this is around the same time. This is a frontier time where somebody gets shot with what is ultimately is basically a fucking BB gun nowadays. Gets shot in the leg, and you're like, well, we got to amputate it. I'm like, what? This is the same time frame where you got to do that, but this guy survives a fucking bear attack and he's fine. Like, that's a thing. And I was like, that's the one time. And I turned it off. I was like, I guess we're gonna go. We're gonna science the fuck out of this surgery.
Well, to be fair, as long as this is from a medical professional, as long as you don't get infected and you can breathe and you have enough blood in your body to get oxygen to your blood, to your organs, your body will heal itself. Maybe not well, but your body just will start putting its
scar tissue.
Start putting its shit back together. Like, that's what it's supposed to do. So the fact that, because they do show that part where he does get help and he gets like inside the horse and he all of that shit is like
just looks like an infection ready to happen, to be honest.
I mean, that's what makes it like to me. This movie was all about like that. The brutality of survival, also, like, because you got to cut that fucking horse open. You're gonna have to. The tauntaun horse is real, like you
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
And the like the genuine part where the water, like there's scenes where he has to get water, and that part of all of it was just like, it was still compelling, even though it was just this like brutalistic view of survival, and especially the fact that he was recovering the whole time. And then the end of that movie is fantastic, where he finally like
the end is my favorite, when he's fucking going after Tom Hardy. That shit to me is
amazing.
That movie,
like part. I'm getting goosebumps. Look at it. Look, can you see
that part? I love that part of the movie. I enjoyed this movie a lot. Here's the thing: I'm never gonna rewatch this movie. Like, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's
kind of how I stand with it.
It's I'm not gonna rewatch this movie, but that I would rewatch that last half hour. I would rewatch that shit.
Yes, that part is again like he had that was like the drive for survival was also part of the story. Like, if he was just out there in the woods trying to survive, the fact that they gave him the fact that Tom Hardy killed his son and all this shit, fucking, like, the whole time you're like, yes, survive. You turn into Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder, where he's like, survive.
And then Ed Hardy.
Ed Hardy.
Tom Hardy, not his brother Ed. Tom Hardy does an amazing villain, because you just every time he plays a villain, you go, "Oh, I'll kill that motherfucker."
Yes, it's great. I love that movie, and that's my number 2.
My issue with The Revenant actually has nothing to do with the movie itself. I just get pissed off sometimes that this was Leonardo DiCaprio's first win, when I feel like it definitely wasn't the one that he deserved it the most for, and that just kind of pisses me off. Like,
so often He deserved,
he
it,
deserved it for this too.
he deserved it for this as well, but he also deserved it for Wolf of Wall Street. He
Wolf of Wall Street. That's what I always go back to. Like the fact that, and so like I said, that's got nothing to do with the movie. I just get pissy that it's like when he was Jordan Belfort, like he was acting his ass off, and it's like now he's just screaming in the woods with the bear scratch down his neck, and it's like, oh yeah, see that guy covered in snot with the chapped lips, best actor.
I think because it was the same year as The Martian, right? So I think The Martian, like Matt Damon in The Martian, was a better like acting performance of like carrying the movie. But I feel like because like I think this was given to Leonardo DiCaprio because they hadn't given it to him the other years. So I feel like Matt Damon should have won this year. But Leonardo DiCaprio should have won for a million other years, you know, like
yeah, that's what I'm saying, like that. And then when I remember that part of it, I just kind of get pissy because, like I said, I really thought Wolf of Wall Street was going to be his first win.
I don't. What angers me about this movie has nothing to do with the movie. It has to do with the fact that there's no rape from a bear.
Yeah,
all right.
I was sold on bear rape.
I mean,
it's a classic bait and switch.
Classic. And then here's the thing: I went on about the DVD just to get the behind the scenes. Like, oh, maybe it's in the fucking deleted scenes, you know? Like, no.
Was it a CGI dick? No,
none of that.
It's all real.
There's no complete total lack of bear dick.
I disagree with you guys, Revenant. I think his. I mean, I think he should have. I think he wanted. He deserved it for this role as well. I'm with you that he deserved it for many other roles, but he definitely deserved it for this role. Definitely above Matt Damon's shitty potato eating. I'm Revenant to me. I mean, that's you know, give me that any day. My number 2 is Tropic Thunder. Kidding.
Out at this point, if you would have said The Pest, I would have been like, okay, whatever, man. All rules are out the window.
That's not true. It's inaccurate.
No one has made an illegal pick.
Nobody. David is the king of calling out illegal picks in this podcast, my friend. No, my number 2 is Book of Eli.
Oh, fantastic movie.
I highly enjoyed this movie. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Did not know that it was based on religion. Didn't know.
I didn't know until, like, it's like, oh, it's the Bible that he's carrying. Like, oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't even know. Even then, I was like, oh, it's a Bible. Okay. Like, I still didn't know. I was like, oh, that's the MacGuffin. Whatever. Who gives a fuck? I'm like, just move on, right? But then
it's like, oh, it's in the fucking title. Like the book of whatever. Yeah.
So I very much enjoyed this movie. I love the way he made his own chapstick from rat grease, whatever the fuck it was. A lot of surviving, a lot of the action was great. But I watched this movie like I watch most of Denzel's movies. I'm like, it's Denzel. I'm gonna watch whatever the fuck, like anything. I watch him read a fucking phone book. But yeah, that's it. That's the Book of Eli is my number 2.
Are we going? Do we do our own honorable mentions anymore or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I have those too.
All right, so for number 2s, we have Apocalypto, The Road, Revenant, and Book of Eli. Let's get to the honorable mentions. I don't have a little music cue for that, so we're just going to go with honorable mentions. David, what do you got for your...
Oh, man, I wanted you to do that for 2 minutes. I'd just be like, here's the intro music.
You want to just scat for 2 minutes?
Like for 2 minutes, and every time we go like, oh. Oh, right.
Dave?
So one that I saw on plenty of lists, but I couldn't bring myself to put it on my top 4 is Jaws.
I thought that was going to make your list, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I definitely see how like the last act of the movie is survival. But to me, it's always going to be more of a monster movie than a survival movie. The Edge, which I did not have time to rewatch. It's been, I don't know, easily 20 years since I've seen The Edge. Had I had time to watch it today, I may have moved Deliverance off the list and put The Edge on. But
watched
as
The
a-
Edge has one of those things that like sticks with you like forever. Like I was young when I saw this, but I will always remember like, so if you can use a bear's weight against it, that's how you kill a bear, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to use its own weight against it. That's the one thing I know about bears.
I did not watch The Edge until the first time that I watched it which was literally like 2019. It was right before the pandemic.
Oh, really?
I watched it for the first time then, and I feel as if I should have watched it sooner when I was younger, because now I was just like, okay. It was good. It was fine. Like I just thought it was fine. But I love that line that Anthony Hopkins gives, where he says, "What one man has done, another man can do," and I think that's that's that line. You could carry that line as a life lesson type of deal. What one man has done, another man can do.
Get tattooed in papyrus on your chest.
It has to be in papyrus, though.
It has to be papyrus.
In Comic Sans across your chest.
One that I did not put on because to me this is, I mean, zombie movies automatically are discounted, but it is survival. Is Dawn of the Dead, more than Day of the Dead, which we mentioned in the post-apocalyptic one. The focus on survival here, I think, is like paramount to the story. And another one which just barely missed it, and oftentimes this movie I think gets a lot of hate because the following year Interstellar came out, and I don't think you can compare the two, is Gravity. I think Gravity is an excellent survival movie.
Phenomenal.
Missed it by that much.
Gravity is the space movie that I was talking about.
Came out the same year as The Martian.
As a Martian, and I feel like
I think it was.
Can we table that?
It was. Oh, okay.
Oh,
all about science with Mike. All right, Bono, what do you got? What do you got for your honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. I've got Children of Men, which didn't make my list. I mean, it's about the survival of the human race, but it's not necessarily about survival of the characters. That's why I ended up eliminating it. Fantastic movie. Just didn't think it necessarily fit the criteria.
I got to rewatch the movie. I hate that movie. And I apparently I'm the only one on earth that hates that movie.
No. See, I saw that movie when it came out, and I could not get into it. In fact, I didn't finish watching it.
I finished watching it, but I watched the movie when it first came out. There was a lot of Oscar buzz to it. I'm like, I'm gonna watch this movie, and I was like excited to watch it. And I'm like, this movie sucks.
And phenomenal, love it.
It's long. You just have to wait. It takes a while to get going.
Everything I heard about it afterwards, I'm like, man, I need to give this movie a second shot.
I'm willing to give it another shot, but fuck, I hated it with passion. In fact,
like I said,
they then nominated for a bunch of Oscars. I was watching the Oscars that year, and every time it was fucking mentioned, I was angry. I'm like, oh, fuck off. Like, I was so angry at the Oscars. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it was just, but it was not the movie, so I got to rewatch it.
Couple others, 2013 film with Robert Redford that I've actually never met anybody else who's seen, but it is a survival film called All Is Lost. Was a great movie. Amazing performance from Robert Redford. And then 127 Hours, which almost edged out my number.
Missed it by that much.
I'd never seen 127 Hours because I
Neither
don't
have I.
know if I could look at that dude's face for that long. Like the whole movie is him. Like not even Seth Rogen shows up. I'm gonna by himself for the whole
again, incredible example.
But I think Jay Baruchel plays the boulder.
Yeah. I just thought it was weird that like in the third act he smokes the big cross joint right before. I mean, I always thought that was weird.
Each his own.
You got to do what you got to do, but I mean, again, incredible example of one actor carrying an entire movie.
Yeah. Mike.
To not mention ones that we already mentioned. Alive, the soccer movie where they crash on the mountains and they have to eat each other. That was when I was a kid. That was like one. I was like, oh, did you see that movie? They eat people, and I didn't see it forever because I thought it was going to be like this horror thing. And I tried to watch it like as a teenager then, and I was like, this movie's boring. But then I watched it again as an adult, and I was like, oh, this is like really good.
South Park ruined that movie for me after I watched that movie. But years later, South Park comes out with an episode. Have you seen this episode?
No.
Yes. And the power goes out, right? and the power goes out, and there's like an assembly of some kind going on in the school, and the power goes out, and they're locked in, and there's a blizzard or whatever, and they go, oh, we're gonna have to eat somebody, and they're like, what? Like there's one outside, there's one outsider, like one out of towner, he's not part of the town, and he's like, what? And they're like, yeah, we're gonna have to eat somebody because food is scarce and blah, blah. And he's like, it's been 15 minutes. What are you guys talking about? And then they cut to and they come back to these people and they've finished eating somebody, and then one of the ladies is like, I'm pregnant and the baby's hungry. We got to eat again. He's like, oh, we got to eat again. We got to draw straws. And the guy who's out of towner, he's literally like with still blood in his mouth. And he's like, are you guys anemic? He was like, are you guys anemic? What's going on here? Like, it's just so fucking absurd. And it killed the movie Alive for me. Yeah. This episode was like 1,000 years after the movie Alive came out. But it just, ever since then, whenever for some reason, any reason, the movie Alive comes into my head, I always think about South Park. I'm like, are you guys what's going on?
The other one, I have two more. The open water, which is not just, but the one where they're like stranded out there. Because I figured I got to account air, sea, land, and the idea.
Where's your heart?
Huh? In Apocalypto. I was scuba diving a lot at the time when that movie came out. So like the idea of not the shark, but the idea of being left by the boat and just like being out there, like, what, I have to swim to fucking shore, like, where do I go? And that whole movie was just like one big tense muscle. And this one, it violated my solo survival. Also, Apollo 13. Yes. I love Apollo 13. I
didn't think of that, but fuck yeah,
that was in my short list. And the reason why I'm glad that was your fourth, your final honorable mention, because that was one of my very first honorable mentions, and it was going to make my list. And then I made my rule that only one movie per actor, because to be honest with you, the other movie, it was going to be Apollo 13, it was going to be Captain Phillips, and it was going to be Castaway. And I was like, I can't have an all Tom Hanks fucking mountain.
Yeah, man, a Hanksathon. Let's do it.
So all those movies, by the way, I've rewatched recently, along with a bunch of other.
And then the fourth one was Philadelphia.
Yeah, no, I've seen Philadelphia. I just watched.
What? What did I say?
So
it was a man trying to survive. You're not wrong. I can't take that away from you.
The Pest and Philadelphia are equal in the eyes of this mountain.
So my honorable mentions. Are Apollo 13, Surviving the Game, Hard Target.
Wait, Surviving the Game, is that Michael Douglas?
No, that's the Ice-T movie.
That's the Ice-T one.
That's the Ice-T movie where he's running away from people in a forest, and people are trying to kill him because man is the ultimate game.
Yeah.
So Surviving the Game, Hard Target, where Van Damme is running away from people who are hunting him because man is the ultimate game, and then The Pest, which is John Leguizamo running away from people because man is the ultimate game. So that's my honorable mention list.
All the same.
They're all the same. Yeah, that's it.
Round 1. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Do it! Come on!
All right, David, what do you got for your number one, man?
My number one is Castaway.
My number one as well. It's my number one as well.
Yep. Well, it kind of had to be, right?
Yeah.
It is like the like
ultimate
survival movie.
Yeah, it's the poster boy.
It covers every aspect of it.
Yeah.
The lost loved one that's waiting for you, that you think about, the nature, time, all that stuff.
I'm surprised they made your list, Mike, because he was only there because of a plane crash. So it was, like he's just
this really is a movie about mail.
Yeah.
It is a movie about delivering the mail.
Yeah.
Also,
it is.
Can we talk about the fact that how unethical he is opening up these packages? Excuse me, sir.
That's
Excuse
a
me.
federal offense.
He pained over it. It was he thought about it for a long time.
He did.
Well,
really
he
did.
didn't open the one that
one.
Well, the motivation. He's like, I must deliver this package. I have to, and then he goes.
Do you think that the wings on this package that he did not open is what started all the wings on walls that people paint now, where women go and get in front of these wings?
I do now. I mean, yeah.
You think there was a woman that saw this and goes, you know what? I want to paint wings on my wall and let other women come. I think that's the best pickup line of all time. Just paint.
I'm not like other girls in a line with 20 other girls to take a same picture as 20,000 other girls.
My favorite is when they take a picture of the wings, but they're not center.
Just slightly off. Just a little bit off. And then you're like, ooh.
You're like,
play the Missed It by That Much sound.
That much.
Yes.
All right.
Did you know that this started as a sequel to You've Got Mail? and then just over time, Meg Ryan said no, I won't do it, and so they had to rewrite the female lead, and from there it just
Also, he had to go from being a rich mogul, like bookstore mogul, to being stranded on an island.
Yeah.
I will say Dave Chappelle's in both. No, I will say that this movie, there was a line in it that I always thought was so fucking funny, because when he finally gets back, spoiler alert, and then he goes to see Helen Hunt again, and they talk about how they have a football team. It was when Tennessee, because he's from Memphis, and then it was literally the year. It was like right after that play where they barely fucking like you almost had it, and it reached, and he almost made it. And then she like mentions it, and I always thought that was such a funny fucking addition where they're like, they got so close. I was like, some writer from Memphis, Tennessee, some Tennessee writer, like script writer, who was like, nah, fuck that, fuck it. He's like, had to put it in there.
Well, and I thought you were going to talk about. He goes, we finally got a football team, and they put him in Nashville. Like he's like disgusted with the fact that the team's in Nashville.
I did enjoy. There's a lot of like little things in this movie that do, like, you, especially when you watch it again, like on a second watch, you notice that there's so much detail in this movie, especially when he comes back and he's like sleeping on the floor instead of the bed. When he looks at all of the fucking crab, like all of the food that like all the seafood that he fucking struggled, like you saw him like go through the struggling process of like trying to fucking make it, like eat a crab, and they're just like a mountain of it there, like all of it going to waste. It's like it was definitely like, yes, yeah, Hilda, I always thought the face when he sees sushi at the party when he gets back was perfect, because at a certain point when he throws the spear after he's already like lost all that weight and he's surviving, and he's just eating the fish raw, that was an incredible acting performance of him, just like deadpan, like, this is fuel, I need it to live, there's no joy here, like it's just part of the deal, I have to survive. And it's crazy how good he is in this movie.
I think this movie's perfect. Like, it's a perfect movie. It's perfectly directed. It's perfectly directed. It's perfectly acted. And I think I was upset that he did not win the Oscar for this, to be honest with you. And it was
and the fact that Wilson wasn't even nominated. I mean,
it's political, bro. It's fucking political.
Yeah.
But this one, Russell Crowe won for Gladiator. So this is the part, like, here's the thing. Gladiator is, everybody knows, my second favorite movie of all time. I did not think Russell Crowe did a better job than fucking Hanks. And I remember him winning, and I was like, I was still upset. Even though it's my favorite movie that year, and it's my second favorite movie of all time, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? What does this guy have to do to win a fucking Oscar, man? And I mean, his performance was brilliant. The scene with Wilson gets a lot of rightfully so, gets a lot of attention because he is emotional over a volleyball. What is essentially a volleyball, but reality is he's emotional over the only companionship that he's had for 4 years.
Right.
So I don't want to take away anything from that scene because it is brilliant and it's amazing. To me, the biggest heartbreak is when he sees Helen Hunt again.
Yeah.
And then they drive off, and then fucking stops down the street, and she's like, you can't. Like he was like, you can't do this, and it was fucking brutal.
Yeah.
In the rain. You're talking about the scene in the rain.
Yeah, in the rain. It was just like he was driving and she was stuck in the rain, and he fucking went back for her, and she got in the car and they started fucking kissing, and he's like, let's go. And they're like, and I mean, that was just so brutal to me.
The one that, because that's the second time that she like drives away from the situation, because there was at the reunion, he sees her through the window, and that's when she's like walking around, whatever, and he, you know, and then they leave, and then it was like too much, and then you know, like that whole moment where they could have met there, but they didn't because she just, I guess, couldn't handle it. She left.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they do finally meet, you know that there's like definite like energy that she was struggling with as well. So like the structure of that reunion is perfect.
Perfect. It's just
perfect.
It was brutal. It was painful. You know, there's gonna be an "Am I the asshole?" about like, "Am I the asshole for not leaving with my boyfriend who crashed in a plane, you know, on an island?" And the whole thing. But
my ex came back after 5 years of being stranded on a deserted island. Should I leave my husband for him?
Am I an asshole for kissing him? Like, bitch, you fucking kissed him. Perfect movie, man. I don't know. I don't want to monopolize this, but I watch this movie and I constantly, every time I watch this movie, I post online. I'm like, this is such an underrated movie, because no matter how great people acknowledge it is, I don't think it's still
it's better than that.
It gets better than that. And I always, it's funny. One time I posted, it's just an underrated movie, and they're like, it got nominated like 5 different times. What are you fucking talking about? How is it still underrated? I'm like, it's still underrated. It's still better than that. Like, it's one of those things. All right, so mine is Castaway. And so is Dave. The Bono, what do you got for your number one?
My number one is a film that made me more tense for a longer period of time than just about anything I've ever watched. My number one is The Grey with Liam Neeson.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say The Pest. But all right.
The Grey.
I've never seen it.
Oh, man. So
it's fucking tense.
Liam Neeson is this guy who works at like an oil, an oil rig in the Arctic or whatever, and he like snipes wolves to keep them away from people. And he's flying out because his tour of duty there or whatever is done, and the plane crashes. And he realizes that where they are, they're surrounded by these wolves. And him and this group of guys that were on this plane have got to try to not get eaten by wolves. And so they're trying to stay together and keep fires going and just try to make sure that nobody gets away. And this whole time, you don't even really see the wolves that much. There's just this constant knowledge that they're just beyond sight, which is this incredible idea or, you know, like directorial decision to do that, because the whole thing is they can't see them either. And it keeps you that much more on edge. It's not like they're always just looking off and you can see yellow eyes kind of darting around so they know where they are. No, it creates this atmosphere of the wolves are omnipresent in their lives. And so they're facing the elements because they are in the Arctic and it's cold as hell. And they're surrounded by wolves the entire time.
It's almost like Alien. You know how like in Alien, you never really see the monster like until way later. Like it provides that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but that's what it reminded me of when I saw it. It was like Alien.
Absolutely, it's a great comparison. But I mean, this is you know, like I know that Liam Neeson has done a lot of stuff and is just he's an amazing actor. But this is a movie where he's just so good because it's not always just about like what he's saying, like his body language and the way that he's carrying himself throughout this movie does so much to advance his character. And it's just there's no room to breathe. There's never a moment where you're like, whew, all right, for right now, I know everybody's safe. Like you're just tense the whole time because you never know when the next person's going to get snatched out of the back of the group, or like I said, it's also not everybody who dies in it dies because of the wolves. There are people who just succumb to the elements and things like that. Frank Grillo's in this as well. Now that I stop and think about it, Crossbones. But
I want to ask a question about the end, but I also don't want to spoil anything. You know what I'm about to ask you, right?
I do, and I honestly I don't know that I want to make a decision.
Yes, good answer. Okay, good.
I enjoy not having to make that decision.
Right.
But I mean, it's just incredible, and it's one that when I thought of, I was like, oh yeah, good. Put it on the short list, and I was like, oh man, it's better than that. It's better than that. It's better than that, and it just kept climbing. I watch, from doing this podcast, you guys know I watch a ton of scary movies and stuff like that, and this is survival, but it's not survival horror, but it is so tense and scary the entire time, but a very, very different type of scary than a scary movie. You're physically exhausted after you watch this movie because you don't realize that every muscle in your body has been tensed for the entire time until the screen finally goes black and you're like, oh.
I want to recommend also, if you do watch this movie, if there's a way for you to watch this movie with surround sound.
Yes. Because you can hear stuff behind you, and
in the theater, it was genuinely one of the trippiest. It was like Signs. Do you remember Signs? Mm-hmm. At the end, when the lights go down, it goes real dark, and you hear everything. I remember having a very similar feeling where all of a sudden, I would hear something. And I was like, "Are people behind me making noise?" And it was from the fucking movie. And then for the rest of the movie, I was like the whole time I was like.
It's one of those things it's like that old alien encounter at Disney World that became the Stitches Escape, right? Like you keep waiting to feel something breathe on your neck or I mean guys, such a good movie.
Yeah. It's worth watching.
All right. So Mike?
Gravity. Not the movie, the John Mayer song. Hear me out. I would like
talking about actual gravity, the law of physics,
the physical law of gravity. I would like to say, hold on, I'm seeing something. So I picked, surviving nature. There was the space and then nature, space and then nature. I kept coming back to I guess it's all kind of the same because when you're in space, you're basically underwater or you there's not even air. And that idea that you can't even breathe and there's
nobody can even hear you scream.
Nobody can hear you scream. And you're you don't know which way is up. There's that whole, and also the way this movie was filmed, Alfonso Cuarón did the whole long shot, it's almost like one giant take. The whole movie is one shot.
It's unbelievable that he actually filmed this in outer space.
Amazing. There are shots in this movie where
are you unwrapping a fucking candy bar or something? There's I could hear it clear as day.
I am so sorry. I am actually playing with a little wrapper here. I am so sorry. I will put it down. I will put it down, and it's gone.
In my mind, I'm gone. How long does it take him to open up this fucking candy bar?
No. And listen, I have candy here. I'm like an old man. I've got little caramels.
Is that a Werther's original?
Well, that's even different. Those are those viejo caramels that
these are the old people caramels.
Yeah, unbranded.
I don't know where I got this.
Fuck up your teeth, man.
At least now we know for sure. David's the first one that's getting eaten by the wolves in the grave.
Well, it's funny because when the Bono was like, "You leave this movie super tense and out of breath," and I was like, "Well, me and Dave don't need to watch this movie. Don't need to watch this
already
movie.
Out of breath."
So with Gravity felt very similar in that sense of it was there were moments of release of tension, but not fully. So anytime she would get to, again, it's one of these hyper realistic in terms of the science is not perfect and it's, but the drama of it all, there were beats where she could rest and you could see where, and then all of a sudden something else would happen and then something else would happen. But that initial problem of how it goes from them just doing boring old space stuff
Boring old science.
Yeah, just regular old space. Because that's like, I don't know if you know that, but like the Apollo missions, like in Apollo 13, when they talk about how they're not even going to air the recording of them the broadcast because people are bored with the moon. You know what I mean? Like the space has become this kind of thing where like fucking Richard Branson and Elon Musk are racing to just be rich in space like assholes. And
I hope they stay.
yeah, leave them up there. And
I enjoy Virgin Airlines, sir. I did not speak ill of you or your company. I think you are an amazing, and the fact that you are opening up Virgin Cruises soon, I would like to perform on that ship as well. So
You
please,
got it.
by all means,
Elon Musk can eat a dick. So
The
you
opinions-
heard it here first.
The opinions expressed on Mt.Geekmore are not of Nary Science. Nary Science worships our capitalist overlords.
Correct. Elon Musk, sir, I am at your service whenever you would like anything from me. I thank you. You and Jeff Bezos, and you guys are my friends, and I'm grateful to have you in my life, sir.
Vive le capitalism. Okay.
Make that sound like a dying giraffe.
Yeah.
Somebody hear a giraffe dying?
Yeah. So Gravity. So Sandra Bullock's amazing in this movie. There's so many shots in this movie that I genuinely don't even want to know how they did it. The George Clooney. So the first act of it, like where they're just working in space, and from like 1 minute to the next, it's like we're all dead. That fucking space debris that shoots through that dude's head.
Oh man, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Hey. I remember I was in the theater watching this, and it's one of those movies where you have to like kind of look away or you get a dizzy a little bit just from how crazy it all goes. But the second that literally there was like from the gasps in the room, the air was sucked out of everyone just like because it went from because he was like dancing, the Indian astronaut was doing this dance and celebrating and all this stuff, and like all of a sudden, wham! That thing blows right through his fucking head, and then it's like the reality of the situation is immediate, instant. Like the storytelling of it is like the stakes cannot get any higher. We're orbiting, the Earth. There has to be like the stress of it is immediate, and then it becomes the process of how do we think our way out of this? Because there's no like muscling, there's no like, okay, well, I'm just gonna dive towards the Earth and we'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Like they have to use their brains, they have to figure it all out, they have to do all this stuff. They show like even her breakdown, like her mental breakdown of it. And
that scene is incredible.
With Gwen Clooney?
Yes. I absolutely love that scene.
Yeah, and the like how the space station, like the effects of them seeing it like from far away, the part where she's like flipping uncontrollably, and what it looks like from inside the helmet, like there was a moment where it was like genuine, like holy shit, like if this were real, which it felt very real, like the fear you would feel in that situation is like unlike anything you could feel on Earth. You know what I mean? Like it's it just that movie hit me so hard, and I was just blown away by it because I didn't remember hearing. I remember seeing like one trailer, and it was this crazy thing of people like, what the fuck is going on? And then I went in blind. I didn't know anything about it. And I remember this movie not getting a lot of love at the time. Like people weren't talking about it. I remember having to tell people like, have you seen Gravity? I was that guy. Have you seen Gravity? Have you seen Gravity? Have you seen Gravity? Because people just weren't talking enough about it.
We see it every day, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Gravity right there.
The critical reviews were like
phenomenal.
And absolutely incredible. I don't know how it did, like financially.
Well, it got a bunch of Oscar nods. So.
It did,
yeah,
and a lot of it was because of cinematography and directing, and the visual presentation of it all was amazing.
Its budget was between 80 and 130 million, and it made 723 million.
Yeah, so
gangbusters.
I guess my friends aren't fans of space or science. I at the time I was like,
sorry.
Yeah, Nary.
But this is the movie that I love. This is the movie that that's why when I watched The Martian, I was like, all right, whatever. I guess.
It's true. You're right. I mean, this movie
Gravity is so much better.
That's why it's number one on my mountain. Is because
Hilda says that Tom Hanks is a national treasure.
That's right. We've
Nikita Sanchez Lopez says that's exactly how I feel about Mike Mercadal.
With a flower.
With a flower. I mean, is that a flower?
I believe
yes.
so.
I believe. Hibiscus, I believe.
Otherwise, it's an anus.
That's what I
either way.
That's what I thought it was. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Hilda says that movie was great, but no joke. I left the theater nauseous with motion sickness and my anxiety at like level 11. Turned up to 11.
Yep.
Why not just make it
one higher than 10?
Yeah.
Well, this is one higher. Yeah, that movie's fucking great. Number one on my list. Incredible, and one that I'll watch like again. I've watched it a few times, and it's still like grabs you. Like it's still just the way everything looked. Like even though I knew what was coming, and the final shot of when she stands up is just like it. It was like so victorious, almost like it felt like you earned that victory. Yes, yeah.
Well, and it's one of the most iconic settings of any science fiction movie.
Space.
What? No, the lake where she lands. That's the same lake from the original Planet of the Apes.
Is that
Naboo? Yeah. Was it?
Is that Naboo?
Naboo.
Naboo, yeah.
I saw somebody being held there, but I don't know. Anyways.
Misa, take it to NASA now.
Oh boy.
All right. So number ones were Castaway, The Gray, Gravity, and Castaway. So we have 3 repeats in the Castaway, First Blood, and The Martian. Those are the 3 repeats. So those are final mountain.
So we got an island, we got the woods, and we got space.
Right.
And we
got Mars. We have Mars.
We have prehistory, or not prehistory, but ancient
pre-Columbian history.
Yeah, pre-Columbian history.
I'm talking about just the number. Those are the ones that are repeats, so those make the mountain.
Right. I was just saying, like
the ones we have left are Gravity, The Gray, Book of Eli. I mean, if you want to go against Jesus, our Lord and Savior, that's fine. That's up to you guys.
I mean, are we talking about fiction or nonfiction?
Right.
Yes.
I think you're outnumbered here, Neri.
Yes. Then there's the Revenant. Then where it's a guy getting raped in the cold by a bear, and then there's The Road where it's just a guy in the cold. No bear rape.
And then there's Deliverance where the guy gets raped by the other guy,
but not in the cold.
But sounds like a pig, not a bear.
There's Deliverance. There's I Am Legend. There's Apocalypto. That's it. Those are the ones.
I feel okay. So we have Castaway is got to be,
but it's a repeat.
Castaway, yeah, I know it's in. Castaway's in.
But it doesn't matter. We're not organizing the top.
That's
4.
true.
That's 4. So it's Castaway, First Blood, and The Martian already in. That's going up on the mountain. The guys are already. The demolition crew's ready. They're already doing.
They're already.
No, but I think I know where Mike is going with this. He's trying to take a tally and see what kind of movie do we not have on the mountain,
right?
Yeah,
so that we can fill that hole. Yeah.
And I feel like we have so we have First Blood, which is the society surviving like in the woods while you're trying to get away from society. You have Castaway, which is surviving in this environment where you're
stranded.
You're stranded essentially. And then we have the Martian, but it's the very science one. It's like super sciencey.
So Gravity, The Gray, Book of Eli, Revenant, The Road, and Apocalypto.
I nominate the Gray. I nominate the Gray because of you're surviving against animals, against like a predator.
Apocalypto, you also survive against animals. Because man is the worst animal.
I haven't seen the Gray, but I am gonna say Apocalypse.
But we're in agreement. The fourth,
I feel weird because I haven't seen the Gray, and it's not your fault. I haven't seen the Gray or The Road, and both those movies seem amazing, but I just haven't. I'm fine with either one, any of these movies. To be honest with you, I like all of these movies. The ones that I have seen, I like them all. But
so we're all in agreement that the fourth movie is The Pest, right? Fourth movie on a mountain.
Hard Target. But it's up to you guys. Either way to me. But I will say to make it easy, the gray is the highest pick left.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the gray. It's a well-rounded mountain.
Yeah, and the gray, like he said, there is an active adversary that you're surviving against too. So it does add another element to this.
So everybody had 2 picks on this final mountain. The final
there we
mountain,
go.
Castaway, First Blood, The Martian, and The Gray.
I had 3, Chico.
You had Castaway?
Yep.
We all
number
did.
4.
Yeah, we all.
All right. I didn't have The Gray, so. But if I would have had Apocalypto, that would have been the perfect mountain. I would have had that. Not really, because I didn't pick The Martian. Either way. All right. So that's our final mountain. Our final mountain is Castaway, First Blood, The Martian, and The Gray. I'll check out The Gray. I'll see. I mean, I think I own it, but I haven't seen it. I heard bad things about it. Like it got bad reviews or whatever.
The Gray?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I heard bad things about it, but then I may be wrong. I was like, I think people were just tired of
79% on Rotten Tomatoes,
this dude
64% on Metacritic.
I think this dude was getting a lot of flack for being for doing another movie where it's about surviving, where it's basically like another.
You know what? It's a Ridley Scott movie, right?
Is it?
Ridley Scott produced it, directed by Joe Carnahan.
Okay, yeah, Ridley Scott produced.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, that's not the same.
Yeah,
you almost got me. I was already getting it. All right, man. That's our final mountain. Make sure you check Mike Mercadal. He has other podcasts. Make sure you check out all his other work. Go to @Mike Mercadal on all social media. So check that out. Same thing goes for me. I'm at Nary Science on everything except TikTok. It's at Nary Science Comedy. That's the only difference on TikTok. Make sure you check that out. We have other podcasts on the Geek Bro Network that include David Ulloa, which Shiver is going to come back hopefully soon. We're working on that to bring Shiver, a horror movie podcast. So we're going to be working on that. It's going to be me. It's going to be David, DeBona, and myself. Check that out. Mike and I are on the What's Up Bro podcast, which airs live Wednesday on Facebook, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and then we post the audio version a week later or more because I'm a little busy. So make sure you guys check that out. There's also on geekbro.net you can also check out other podcasts such as Better Let Me Tell You, A Dose of Ellie, Childlike at Best with Mike Valdez. So make sure you go check out the other podcasts. I have 2 podcasts that I'm working on, 2 new podcasts that I'm working on. One is Seasons, that is without exaggeration 3 years in the fucking making, but I'm gonna finish this shit come hell
wow.
Okay.
Fucking
Okay.
Give me 3 weeks and I will have this fucking podcast done. And once that is done, I have another podcast that I'm working on that I just thought of the other day. And I already got Missy in on that podcast, and I'm gonna try to get Mike to do the podcast with me as well. So make sure you be on the lookout. Go to geekbro.net, check out all the other podcasts on the network. Thank you for checking us out. And if you Helium Podcast Network, the Mt.Geekmore podcast is part of the Helium Podcast Network. So go to heliumpresents.com. So make sure you guys check that out. Thank you for listening. That's how lists are made.